So this is going to be a theory on the manga called Blue Box. And so the theory I'm giving is called the Green Box theory. So this is going to be it's not like a joke. It's not a meme. It's going to be a real theory that is actually going to be pretty accurate. So we can have we could like start off with the thesis of the theory, but I'll avoid giving too many spoilers. So I'll just go to the table of contents. So these are kind of the main parts of the theory. So we have like the introduction, the first sign in the manga that something is not right. Then we have the main body points, and then we have a final, I guess, future point that we could look at to analyze. And so I'll go to the first thing that sets off red flags in the manga. So the first thing that really set me off was that in chapter 15 we get this panel where Hina thinks that Chinatsu is very sweet and very pretty and good at sports, and like she hopes that Chinatsu is hiding some messed up fetish because when people are too perfect, it's easy to be jealous of like people that like Chinatsu that are too perfect, and so you hope that they're hiding some like secret that's really messed up, and so this inner thought is like the first really major hint that something is not quite right. And so it is very it is almost like a direct message to the reader saying that there is something that is suspicious here because it's so out of place. It's so out of place. She just randomly thinks, I hope she's hiding some messed up fetish. And that is that really makes you wonder about the idea because it's so out of place. It makes you think she must be hiding some messed up fetish. And the second big direct clue from the author is that in a later chapter, Chinatsu watches a drama at her mother's place, and so during that chapter, while Chinatsu is watching the drama, then her mother gives her advice um, by saying that the female lead in the drama was being like too non-committal and like bouncing between different men and not being committed to one man at all. And her mother's kind of like her mother's advice that kind of goes beyond the fourth wall, that kind of goes through like she's not her mother's not talking to like the characters in the story, but giving a hint to the characters outside of the story. And so that's like the author's way of giving a direct tip off to a reader, to the readers. So these are the two very major clues that the author intentionally gives you in order to let you see all the in order to let you slowly find out all the secrets in the manga. And so now I need to bring up points um, where Chinatsu leads Taiki on. So like she gives him attention and then she acts like it was an accident. So one moment is in well, there were so many moments, but one moment that I have prepared is that well, there are a lot of moments that happened in the first few chapters, but this is just in a moment that I picked. So in chapter 27 and 26, we get the scene where like Taiki slips on the floor and then Chinatsu falls onto him and then they're both like um they're both on the bed and they're very like close to kissing, and it's a very like intense kind of tense moment. And um, so during chapter during the following chapters, Chinatsu tells him basically to forget about it. So in this page on chapter 29, she says, "Just forget it ever happened, okay? When it comes to yeah, just forget it ever happened, okay?" So she intentionally gets close to him and then intentionally draws a line and asks him to just ignore what happened. So it's like she acts like she's interested, but then she pulls further away and acts like she is not interested. So that's what is going on. That's what she is doing. So she tells him to go to sleep and just ignore what happened. And the reason um, the reason it's interesting is because she is she is telling him to forget things, and she's getting close and then like telling him to forget it ever happened, and that's a way that she draws this line that he cannot cross. It's like a boundary. Like you cannot cross the boundary because I already made it clear. And in the panel in chapter 28 from chapter 28, so this is the panel. He's thinking, but I don't know how much distance to keep. And so we can tell that Taiki doesn't know what Taiki doesn't know whether he's far away from her, as in like emotionally, or close to her. Is he just a normal classmate, or is he like romantically involved with her? He doesn't know where the line is, and she's creating. She's constantly going in between the lines. She's going close up across like this line, but then she's distancing herself and going far away from the line. And yeah, these are just the next panels in chapter 29. So she says, "I'll be careful so that nothing like that ever happens again." And and then Taiki says, "Did she draw a line?" So he's specifically wondering if um if Chinatsu drew a line, and like if she drew a line and then um and set a boundary. It's almost like she friend zoned him, and he can kind of even tell that Chinatsu is reading his feelings. It's like she's sensing my feelings. It's not fair. After she told me it's okay to have lofty goals, so that goal would be like reaching nationals and then um, trying to have a relationship with Chinatsu. But then she goes and puts some distance. And so I'm going to go to. Oh yeah, this is um, so she actually drew this line. She drew many lines, but there are a few panels, or in the later chapters, that kind of make you think Chinatsu is interested in him and not just drawing a line to friend zone him. So like she tugs on his shirt, and then she kind of acts cute. So that's just I was just showing this to show that she's kind of crossing the line, which could indicate that she feels like she wants to avoid a relationship by drawing a line, but she also crosses the line because she may be interested. So the main point was that she specifically um, gets close to Taiki, and then she pulls far away and draws a line that cannot be crossed. And then the next evidence I need to explain is that Chinatsu creates love rivals for Taiki. So she enables other guys to become Taiki's love rival, such as Haryu and Masuoka. And so specifically, like During the early chapters, she got Haruyu to like kind of give Taiki a hard time and make him do these hard practices. And so um, she kind of framed it in a way that Haruyu was kind of like like kind of bullying Taiki in order to, you know, compete against him as a love interest for Chinatsu. And there's also the scene where like Haruyu calls Chinatsu Chi, and so um, that's another way that Chinatsu like gets Haruyu to act like her love interest. And she tells Taiki that all her friends call her Chi, but however, I really suspect that she just said that as an excuse, and she specifically asked Haruyu in order to specifically call her Chi in front of, well, not in front of Taiki, but just around her. And so that way, Taiki would get jealous. But the main point is that Haruyu calls her Chi, and she said like all her friends call her Chi, but Nagisa does not call Chinatsu Chi. So I very specifically remember a panel where Nagisa calls Chinatsu Natsu as opposed to Chi, and so it's pretty specific evidence that evidence from the author um, that she lied when she said that all her friends call her Chi. And so I think she intentionally creates like situations that will make Taiki jealous. And the other example I have is that she enables guys like Matsuoka to act as her boyfriend. So during like the field trip, it was like from chapter 70 to 80 some point. So Taiki's thoughts are that like why does Matsuoka act like her boyfriend or something like that? What is specifically like that? Why does he act like her boyfriend? And so um, she allows him to act as her boyfriend. So I have to expand on this. So she allows him to act as her boyfriend, and this kind of draws a line between like Taiki and Chinatsu. Like, if she is talking to other guys and acting way too close with them, then that means that Taiki is not in an official relationship with her, pretty much. It's like, imagine if your girlfriend was holding hands with another dude and you allowed it to happen. That would kind of mean you're not her actual boyfriend and she's not committed to you. It's kind of like a way of making a like making a social stance. Like he doesn't have the social status of being her boyfriend. And another example I need to bring up is um, Chinatsu allows Hina and Taiki to develop romantic feelings when she might not, when normally if you think she's if you think things would happen normally, like Chinatsu would be jealous of Hina and would not allow it to happen. Yet somehow she is not jealous during during multiple moments. So there's the moment where Taiki was talking to Chinatsu and he was like, I didn't kiss Hina or something like that. Yeah, that's exactly what he said. I didn't kiss her, and then yet Chinatsu did not have any reaction at all, and so that pretty much is weird because she should be jealous that like another girl is getting close to Taiki, and but she's not jealous. And then another example would be, um, yeah, when when Taiki and Hina had the almost kiss on the during the stage play, um, Chinatsu was not jealous, and she didn't ask Taiki if it was real or not. So that is very weird because they're supposed to be love interests, but yet she doesn't show any jealousy at all. So, well, after doing my own thinking and stuff, after thinking about all the information I have, all the different evidences, I realized that Chinatsu's dirty fetish, her secret fetish, is that she like enjoys like NTR or like light cheating, and what that means is that she enjoys being jealous of other people and she enjoys making other people jealous. For instance, when she allowed Matsuoka to act like her boyfriend, it was kind of making Taiki jealous. And so, I mean, she wouldn't allow that to happen unless she enjoyed the feeling that comes from, you know, making your boyfriend like really annoyed that you're talking to other guys. Like she wouldn't allow those situations to happen unless she enjoyed the feeling of like cheating on your boyfriend basically. So she enjoys talking to other guys while she kind of has a like a pseudo boyfriend, a fake boyfriend in Taiki. And she also allows Hina and Taiki to like get close, and she has a very um interesting reaction during the stage play when Taiki and Hina have their almost kiss. So she just has this like she has this like uh normal expression, except her eyes are just looking at the screen, her mouth is normal, her facial expression is normal, but you would think she'd be jealous or sad, but she's just looking at the screen with this normal expression. And so it's like either she enjoys being jealous of others, which plays into the NTR fetish. She likes to be on the receiving end and also the other end, or she uses these like NTR situations, these love triangles, in order to like develop her own emotions, which doesn't really make sense. But I definitely think she has her secret fetish is that she enjoys like jealousy situations, love triangles, etc. And this also probably stems from the dramas that she watches. Like so she watched a drama at her mother's home, and that probably led to like the development of her own preference of like her own preference in romance. And so in the drama, the female character was like non-committal between two men. And so I guess she would also enjoy the taste of being uncommitted to one man and maybe, making your love interest jealous of you, jealous of other dudes. And the second reason I have for in order to explain why Chinatsu likes to create love rivals for Taiki is that it sets a line it sets the line of social status. Because Chinatsu is entertaining other suitors, therefore Taiki is not her actual boyfriend, since he does not speak out when other dudes act as her boyfriend. For instance, like yeah, if you saw your girlfriend, um, yeah, your girlfriend like acting like some other dude was her boyfriend, then you would either like, you know, uh, you'd either like try to separate them and because you're her actual boyfriend, or you would, um, or you would, or you would break up with your girlfriend. So the love rivals and she uses the love rivals in order to create a line between them socially, stating that they are not partners. And another moment where Chinatsu should be jealous of Hina is that um, um, Taiki. Okay, Hina tries to tries to like compete for Taiki's affections, and so she tries to like it was like from chapter 30 to 50 somewhere, and she was like trying to get Taiki's interest by getting him to like encourage. She acted like she needed encouragement so that Taiki would then choose to encourage her, which would make him feel more attracted to her or like emotionally connected to her. And then Taiki suddenly tells Chinatsu, "I want to go to nationals with Hina." And so that's a moment where like Hina had replaced Chinatsu's spot, as originally Taiki wanted to go to nationals together with Chinatsu because she had planted that seed, that goal in him. But then Hina had replaced her, yet Chinatsu was not jealous. And I'll expand on how Chinatsu had created this goal of going to nationals. So she plants this idea into Taiki's head, and so um, she's like, in order for you to be like, um, it was like, well, it was a long process, but it's like she wanted to go to nationals, and Taiki was like, but then she was traveling outside of Japan, outside of her country, and so Taiki ran to her and said, "You can't leave, you can't quit, you can still go to nationals this year." And then she was like, "Oh, but I'm living with a relative. I'm not actually leaving Japan. And uh, I'm going to stay, and I will um, continue to try to go to nationals." And so then Taiki was like, "Okay, I need to motivate myself and also meet the same goal of going to nationals in order to become an equal and in order to date her." So that was how Chinatsu planted the seed of like I need the planted the seed into Taiki's mind where he's thinking, I have to go to nationals. Okay, these are more situations where Chinatsu creates love rivals for Taiki. So this is the scene where after they were in the cafe, I think, and Matsuoka says, "You could learn a lot playing against college badminton students. Don't worry about me." Oh no, no, no. And then Taiki's like, "Don't worry about me. I'm gonna go home and do whatever." And then what happens is that like he's supposed to be her love interest, yet she kind of gets like zoned out or like friend zoned out, and then she kind of like gets taken away by another dude. So it's like a kind of a weird situation. It's kind of like an NTR situation, and so it's like she allows Matsuoka to act as her boyfriend, and Taiki also allows him to act as her boyfriend, and she doesn't really resist it. She allows it to happen. She's an intelligent human being. She's one of she's she's like the best basketball player on the team. She's like, from what I remember, the most popular girl at the school. That's what I remember or something. But yet all her intelligence did not let her stop this from happening. And then he gets kind of annoyed and she just looks at him. She's not even that she's not even that in pain or anything. And so he just looks on and then he regrets it and then he's like, I wanted to go to a few more places, but I want to support Chinatsu Senpai in her club activities. So yeah, he definitely regrets what happened, but he regrets what happened, but he's like a guy with low self-esteem, easily like manipulated by women. And then she's an intelligent girl, the best basketball player on the team, but she doesn't stop it from happening. She allows this to happen because she probably enjoys these types of like love triangle situations, jealousy. So she allows this to happen. And she also like she has a motivation for doing so. And the next point I have to make is that Chinatsu denies social status from Taiki. She prevents him from acting as her boyfriend. Um, so, for instance, at first she got Haru to play as a love rival to Taiki, and she also set up Matsuoka to act like her boyfriend to make Taiki jealous. And in these situations, Taiki's kind of like getting zoned. Like he can't act as her boyfriend if someone else is acting as her boyfriend. And one of my claims I want to make is that like Taiki never interacts with Chinatsu outside of isolation. In other words, um, he never interacts with her in a social setting. For instance, he never meets up with Chinatsu while she's with her friends like Nagisa. She's never with Chinatsu and Nagisa at the same time. She's never with Chinatsu and Karen at the same time. She's never with Chinatsu and Haru at the same time. So because people don't see the kind of close bond that they share, they never see their close bond in a social setting. People don't see them together. What that means is that um, Taiki is never able to officialize any type of relationship with her because nobody would believe him because nobody has seen it. And so what this means is he is always stuck in like a friend zone because nobody would know that these two people know each other. And one example that kind of shows that Chinatsu is trying to not allow other people to see their type of relationship, uh, which is kind of like a borderline relationship. Another situation is that when Karen tells Taiki to speak with Chinatsu while they are on a call together, Chinatsu abruptly hangs up on the call, and so this could be a way that she prevents Karen from realizing that she is leading Taiki on, that she is simply leading Taiki on, and not willing to like officialize any kind of relationship at all. Because if she's on the phone and she treats him as like a private boyfriend, if she treats him as a private boyfriend as opposed to like a social boyfriend, then Karen would be tipped off and she would realize that something unhealthy is going on. But what a private boyfriend would be like, it's like it's like your friend outside of school that you tell nobody about. So the guys at school don't know you have this boyfriend outside of school, but you still act like you're a single girl. And so it's like a private boyfriend would be someone you don't tell other people about. And the reason you would keep a private boyfriend or a private girlfriend is um, so that like you don't have to actually be committed to a relationship. You can still entertain other opportunities. Whereas a social boyfriend would be like somebody that your friends know about. You meet up with them at school. So the reason it's unhealthy that Taiki is being sidelined in this like private boyfriend situation is because um, she's not really committed to him. She's not committed to him, and so she doesn't make him a public boyfriend. And this is because, and she's not committed to him, but she's also taking advantage of the situation, which I'll explain how she benefits from the situation later on. And furthermore, other reasons why he doesn't get the status of being her boyfriend is that Taiki is never proactive, and so he doesn't meet up with Chinatsu while she's with her other friends, like females, males. And so socially, nobody would recognize him as her boyfriend. and nobody would know that these two people know each other. So Chinatsu precisely does not tell people about Taiki, about them living in the same house. And so she is kind of holding this information, holding this social status from the public. And I wonder if she chose Taiki precisely because he's a guy with low self-esteem who would not proactively try to like act as her boyfriend, and therefore it was an easy opportunity to just get close to a guy that won't be proactive and try to be her girlfriend. And so another reason, I'll just talk about why Chinatsu is able to get this benefit, get this situation where she has her cake and still eats it. It's because the two of them live in an in between situation where they're living between boundaries. It's almost a taboo situation where Chinatsu is a girl that is living in the house with a male. And so she can get into romantic situations with him without being seen as lovers and without other people seeing them as lovers because nobody sees them. So she kind of goes between the boundaries of being classmates with Taiki, and she goes between like being love interests with each other. And this all happens because they're in a taboo situation where they're two opposite gender students living in the same house. And nobody actually sees them together, which further which further like emphasizes the point where they Taiki doesn't get the social status of being like a love interest for Chinatsu, because the first time someone outside of Hina catches them in a moment is when Yumeka sees them in chapter 85 or 84 or 83. So people, very few people know that these two people are like close at all. It's really just Hina and Yumeka and Kyo and Karen. Just those four. Well, pretty much those four, I think. And so I want to talk about the purpose of Chinatsu's actions. Why is she trying to string Taiki along, and why is she trying to like manipulate him and use him as this type of like emotional partner that's not actually your boyfriend? So she gives Taiki this goal to go to nationals because he wants to go to nationals because she is going to nationals. He wants to go to nationals to be on the same level as her, so then he'll be good enough to date her. And he's like a guy with a low enough self-esteem that you can make him think he has a chance and then get him on to do this loop around method in order to achieve his goal. Like instead of just dating her, I'm going to first go to nationals and then date her. Like why do you have to go to nationals before you date a girl? Like what does that even mean? Does that mean like you have to like yeah, he's only going to nationals because it's the same goal that she has. And so she creates this idea that you cannot date me unless you make it to nationals. And she sets another line between them. She says, "I'm only focusing on basketball." So she's kind of like saying she's she's putting her time into sports instead of putting her time into a relationship. Okay. Okay, I think I messed up the slides. Okay, never mind. We'll just skip that. Oh yeah, this is just another way that she denies him social status. So she draws a line that he can't date her unless he fulfills this condition. Because he hasn't fulfilled the condition, therefore they are not lovers. And she's also focusing on basketball, therefore they are not lovers. So she kind of, denies him the social status and draws more lines that prevent him from actually creating any relationship and prevents anything from happening at all, which is why which is why the manga is like going in circles. The manga has been going in circles for like 40 chapters. Like it's like I like Chinatsu. I don't like Hina, but Chinatsu doesn't want to date me because she's focusing on basketball. And this just goes on for like half of the story. And it's still going on right now in chapter 85 and 86. And so it just keeps going on in a circle because she is drawing these lines and nothing is happening because of these lines and boundaries. And I want to talk about what Chinatsu has done to Taiki. So she has made Taiki into an unconditional lover. So he can only be attracted to Chinatsu. And so it's in chapter 77 where he says, I cannot go out with you, to Hina. And so it's because he has this unconditional interest in Chinatsu that he cannot fathom being interested in any other girl. And so even though Kyo tries to convince him that he is attracted to both Hina and Chinatsu, yet he unconditionally chooses Chinatsu no matter what. No matter what. And so he kind of has this like dependence relationship with Chinatsu. Like he cannot find love unless it's with this girl called Chinatsu. And she has him wrapped around her finger. Um, and so um, there's even this point he brings up. He tells Hina that I don't think the relationship we have right now is healthy. So there are many recurring big themes in like this manga. So one manga is that, you know, one of the themes of the manga is healthy and unhealthy relationships. And so specifically, unhealthy relationships are an important thing in the manga because like Hina is constantly like, trying to get his affection, and it's unhealthy because it's one-sided, and he's not going to his interest is not going to change. And so it's unhealthy because it kind of like goes nowhere. So like this is an example of like the theme of unhealthy relationships in the manga. And it's important because it kind of because Chinatsu's relationship with Taiki is also unhealthy because like she has him wrapped around her finger. He's willing to do whatever she asks for, whatever she needs. For instance, when Matsuoka asked Taiki to go to like the college training session, um, therefore Chinatsu, therefore Taiki let her go because he will unconditionally do whatever benefits her, whatever makes her a better person, a better sports basketball player. And so he's become this like unconditional lover that will do anything for Chinatsu. It's also unhealthy because it's like kind of borderline for a girl to live in the same house as a guy that if they're not family. And it's just borderline. It is a borderline thing. And Chinatsu's friends call her out on it. And even she herself is definitely smart enough to know that it is wrong. But she willingly accepts the situation because she wants to use the situation to her advantage. Well, she's not direct. She's not like she's kind of she's kind of like she's kind of like subtly using the situation to her advantage. That's kind of like her personality. And so and the situation is like borderline in the first place, and it's straight out of a manga rom-com, which the genres can like contain many borderline and unhealthy situations. For instance, like in Ero Manga Sensei, there are some sketchy situations, and it's like playing on like the like oh my good like it's playing on some sketchy themes like yeah, you get it, right? Everybody gets it, whatever. So it's kind of like the premise, the manga rom-com premise is a borderline situation in the first place, and all of her friends know it is borderline and very sketchy. And the interesting part about the premise is that the premise is like fan servicey, yet the manga, the story, I'll just say the story is like realist. There's some realism to it. It feels real. It feels very real. The people kind of act like real people. It's like she doesn't just fall in love with him easily because it's not trying to provide a perfect like fan servicey story. It's trying to provide a real story. So there's this difference between the premise and the realism in the realistic story, and so it kind of lets you know that this like funny rom-com situation, it, it's actually kind of borderline if we put it into a realistic situation, a realistic setting. So we know that the situation that Taiki and Shinatsu are in is like borderline. And so it's a very weird situation. There are so many weird things going on and it's because Chinatsu is like taking advantage of the situation and creating like unhealthy relationships. And another big evidence that I need to use in order to show that, in order to show my point, is that the one-shot manga called by the same name called Blue Box, it reveals a lot. I mean, it has the same themes. It has the same themes as the manga. So the one shot manga was released first, and then the one shot was good enough that um, the like the manga was good enough that Shonen Jump wanted the the mangaka to make a full on series about the one shot manga. And the one shot manga has the same themes as the full on manga. So in the one shot, Chinatsu rejects a dude who asks her out. And so what I thought was that perhaps she enjoys having close relationships with people, but she does not want to have a boyfriend. For instance, you might have a close friend, either the same gender friend or an opposite gender friend. And so maybe she just likes having friends that are very close and maybe very close, but she doesn't actually want a boyfriend. So she tells the dude, I'm focusing on basketball. And what that means is like, if any guy asks her out, then it's over. If they ask her out, they're getting friend zoned and it's going to be awkward and they're never going to talk again. But if guys don't confess to Chinatsu like Taiki, then they can entertain the situation. Chinatsu can entertain the situation because because technically they're not in a relationship and she is not investing time into the relationship because she's primarily focusing on basketball and cannot invest time into a relationship. So there's this kind of weird weird unhealthy relationship dynamic going on. Like Taiki can be close to her as long as they're not in a relationship, but she'll just like emotionally like take advantage, emotionally get close to him, but then keep him at a distance. And so there's this like unhealthy relationship going on, and it's similar to Hina's situation where she wanted to not receive an answer from Taiki so that she could still not be rejected. So like she could have the best of both worlds. Like she could have the best of both worlds as like she could still confess and not be rejected at all. You're kind of having two good things at the same time instead of, having a good thing and having the negative consequence. And in Taiki's situation, if Taiki doesn't confess to Chinatsu, then she won't have to reject him. Because she specifically said she drew the line where she was focusing on basketball. She did not want. Um, okay, I'll just go back to the panels because I'm getting kind of tired. So um, she drew the line, and then um, she said, "I'll be careful that nothing like that ever happens again." So it's like she did not want. Um, so if yeah, she did not want a lover. She just wanted him to forget it happened. She wanted to she wanted to enjoy those situations without having to make a commitment. She wanted to have her cake and eat it. Furthermore, in the one shot, she kind of reveals her own motivations. So she says in the one shot manga, so very specifically, very clearly, she says, I want somebody, like she basically says, I want a partner, somebody that I would want to wake up in the morning in order to see. Someone that would cheer for me and me to cheer for him. Someone she could turn to. That's very specifically what she said when Taiki and Chinatsu confessed their feelings for each other. Basically, she said, I need somebody that can motivate me to wake up in the morning to play basketball. I need somebody that I would be motivated to wake up in the morning to see. And I want a lover that will cheer for me and a lover that I will also cheer for as well. Someone that I can turn to. So that's exactly what she's molding Taiki to be. She wants Taiki to have this goal of reaching nationals. Therefore, Taiki is cheering for Chinatsu to make nationals, and then she is cheering for him to make nationals as well. But um, and then she has this desire that she wants someone that she can turn to, a partner that she could turn to. And her mother on the phone even told her that you should look for somebody that you can turn to while you're in need, when you're in need. And so the problem with her statement in the one shot manga is that this is an unhealthy relationship pretty much because you're pretty much getting a partner for this emotional comforting emotional dependency because she wanted somebody that she could turn to, not someone she could love, but somebody who she could turn to when she's sad. It's like someone who will comfort her and not somebody who will love her. And so okay, so I have to explain this. So I think there's a problem with this type of romance because it's simply based off of the maximum the maximum gain or maximizing your amount of benefit. For instance, she wants to be motivated to do well at nationals. Therefore, she gets a boyfriend who will cheer on her. Like that just sounds like you're using a tool for the wrong purpose. So she's getting a boyfriend in order to have somebody to cheer on her, but she's not getting a boyfriend to have an emotional partner. She's just getting somebody who will give her. She wants an emotional support partner, not an emotional partner. So one thing I want to talk about in romance is that I do think that a lot of romance is based around mutual benefit, as in you make your partner a better person. For me, that's what I see as love. And in Bleach, there's the ship Ichiruki, and the reason I think it's very incredible and fascinating is because they kind of healed each other's they healed each other's past traumas, and they kind of found love because of what they went through and how they healed each other. And so that's what I think is kind of a type of love that is good. But in this situation, In Chinatsu's situation, it seems very like unorganic. It's kind of machine-like. It's kind of gear-like, machine-like. It's like she's just using Taiki as opposed to like emotionally loving him, emotionally bonding to him. And you can see many times in the manga where she's not emotionally bonding with Taiki. She's just like creating these cute shoujo scenarios, like in like from somewhere from chapter 1 to 10. It's like they're washing their hands at the sink, and then she turns her head to look at him with like a cute expression. So it's these scenes that she intentionally does, which creates attraction in Taiki's mind. So she's intentionally acting like a cute girlfriend in order to create attraction in him, but she's not creating her own attraction towards Taiki. And so it's like it's not organic at all. And if it's not organic at all, like what really is there? Is there any substance behind it? Which there's not much being. It's still very sketchy to whether or not you can say there's a lot of substance behind their relationship. But if we look at the one shot manga where she said that she needed somebody that she would be motivated to wake up to see in the morning, someone to cheer for her and her to cheer for him, and someone she could turn to. It seems like she wanted a boyfriend that would provide her with motivation, as opposed to a boyfriend that would love her, aka a boyfriend to motivate her to practice more to improve at basketball. And this is totally true. This is my conclusion. It's totally true because she wants somebody that she would be motivated to wake up to see in the morning, like a boyfriend you would want to see in the morning. But that's very weird. You want to be motivated to see a boyfriend in the morning so that you can play basketball more. You're using your boyfriend as motivation to practice more, which is very like weird and taking things in the wrong way. Taking things in the wrong way. And you can see this even in the manga is like Taiki would go to morning practice earlier every time so that he could be earlier than the girl, Chinatsu. And she herself was using him as motivation. It's like, oh, I want to see that boy at practice in the morning. Therefore, I will wake up a little earlier and be motivated to practice more hours in basketball. It's kind of like you can tell that the one shot manga is very closely tied to the themes of the full on manga. And you can tell that she's kind of like indirectly using him, basically. And so, the large scale explanation for why Chinatsu goes in between giving Taiki affection and then non-affection by taking that affection away is because she receives benefits from being attracted to a member of the opposite sex, as that makes you more motivated. Like when you have a love interest, you kind of want to do well in order to impress your lover. Like if you're going to a basketball tournament, it's like I have to I have to win this match so that I can impress my girlfriend. Well, not my girlfriend, but my love interest, the girl that I want to impress. I have to do better. And so in some ways there are definitely emotional benefits to being attracted to a member of the opposite sex. However, fully being in a relationship takes away from a person's motivation to do well in sports. For instance, let's say, I mean, you will see it in real life where someone like some kid at school will get a girlfriend and then suddenly he's going to the basketball gym less. He's playing less. He's playing sports less because he's spending his time with his girlfriend. And it's like because you're in a relationship, suddenly you have less motivation to do well in sports. And so in Chinatsu's situation, she goes between the lines of no relationship and having a relationship because she wants to have like the motivational benefits of being attracted to a member of the opposite sex as opposed to the and she wants to avoid the disadvantage of losing motivation while being in a relationship. And the very important reason why it's important to I guess to it's important for Chinatsu to feel and experience love even if she's avoiding a relationship is important because if she were to deny herself that love when she desperately when humans desperately yearn for love, it hurts a person's ability to be happy and put their best effort in. For instance, let's say Chinatsu meets a guy that she likes, and she sees him every day. He's very interested in her. He's very interested in her, and she's interested in the guy, and she's curious about the guy, but she really doesn't want to talk to the guy because she has to practice basketball in the morning. And so what ends up happening is that maybe Chinatsu will regret making her decision. She'll always wonder what could have happened if I had just entertained the curiosity. And so by avoiding like experiencing by avoiding like the opposite gender, by avoiding Taiki, she would be hurting her own ability to be happy and try her best. And so Chinatsu wanted to avoid denying herself love because that would have hindered her mental health and her performance in basketball. So she wanted to avoid denying herself love. So that's why she kind of spent her attention on Taiki, a dude that would not force her to be, who would not ask her the question of being in a relationship, a dude, a dude that would place her telling Taiki's. So she picked a guy that would value her own happiness over his. And so that's why she chose him as her, I guess, her pseudo fake love interest because she wanted to experience love without being in a relationship. But most guys would not give time to her because like they actually want a real relationship and not a fake one. But Chinatsu knows that Taiki is a guy that is, not very confident, a kind heart, self-sacrificial. So she knows he's a dude that would value her own happiness over his. And so when she told Taiki's parents, "I just want to focus on basketball," Taiki overheard the situation because Chinatsu allowed him to overhear the situation by making sure he was, in the area before she said that comment. And so she she planted the seed that she did not want a relationship. And so he was a dude that she could get close to and experience love with without him asking her out. Without because he would prioritize her own goals of focusing on sports as opposed to his own goals of, dating her. And so she was able to avoid denying herself love while also not fully committing to a relationship that would make her lose motivation. And so Yumeka said that when she saw Chinatsu and Taiki together, Yumeka said, "So you ended up giving up on dominating the basketball world." Yet, it's quite the opposite that happened. Chinatsu did not give up on dominating the basketball world by finding a partner. In fact, she did not find a partner. She's experiencing love while not needing to commit to a relationship because Taiki values her happiness over his own. And so Chinatsu is simply reaping the benefits of a relationship without receiving the disadvantages of a relationship. And she wants a person who will motivate her to wake up early in the morning to practice basketball and a guy that will cheer her on. so that she can improve at sports. And there's a new chapter, chapter 86. There are the raw chapter panels already leaked, but I can't really read those, but um, there are a lot of panels with Yumeka, so it'll probably it'll show moments where you get to see that Chinatsu is motivated for specific reasons in the sport, and yeah, we'll get to see what she's trying to achieve in the basketball world. And I'll expand on her goals in the basketball world later. And so the one shot manga. Okay, yeah. And then so the next thing I need to talk about to expand on the idea that um, Chinatsu wants a loving relationship without being uh, attached, being committed, without being committed at all. So one major theme in the manga is relationships that do not hinder sports, and like how can people balance relationships and sports. So Haruyu and Karen agreed that they would break up if their relationship was holding Haruyu back in sports. Basically, he's saying like I'm only going to do this relationship if I don't sacrifice my performance in badminton. And so in Chinatsu's situation, she intentionally led Taiki to pick up the same goal as her to make nationals. And so that would motivate both of them to improve in their sports because that would be a way to motivate them both to improve in their sports. And that way, their relationship would not hold them back from focusing on the sport. And therefore, and that's because like their relationship is based on the premise of reaching the goal of nationals. Their entire relationship, the premise foundation is that we need to reach nationals. So this kind of relationship, she's kind of making it, crafting it so that it does not hold them back from performing. And she kind of creates this not in a romantic relationship not in a romantic relationship scenario as she is living with a male student because she is living with a male student and she's not she's not like she's able to kind of be close to another male while being uncommitted to them because she's living in the same house as Taiki. And um, so in the recent chapters, Matsuoka mocks Taiki, saying that Taiki cannot have enough time to get good at sports while also being in a relationship. In other words, he has to focus on badminton in order to be good, and he can't be in a relationship with Chinatsu because then his performance in badminton would suffer, and his performance would be kind of poor because he does not have enough time to balance a relationship with sports. He does not have enough time to balance a relationship with sports, and so the theme of like relationships competing with sports is like everywhere in the manga. And so this is just a note from my own thoughts. So my own thoughts were like I was wondering why the author wrote it so that Chinatsu lost at nationals. And like what was the purpose? Why did she hang up the phone on Taiki And was it because like she did not want to be distracted, or did she just want to focus on the tournament and not on Taiki? And were her efforts not enough to like win the match? Or did she did she just hang up on him because he did not make nationals and he did not reach the same goals as her? So one chain of thought that I had was that she hung up on him because if she had won the match at nationals, she would have achieved her final goal. And so she would have achieved her goal that she needed motivation from him in order to achieve. So she would have finally absorbed all the she would not have needed more to receive more motivation from him if she had achieved her goal. Or another reason I thought of was that maybe he lost his value after he missed out on nationals. He wasn't good enough to make nationals with her. Or another thought I had was that if Chinatsu won at nationals, maybe she would have left him. Maybe she would have left Taiki and then traveled overseas to attend a bigger league, such as the NBA or the women's NBA. In other words, in the manga, her goal is to play good enough in her 3 years of high school in order to be good enough to make it to like the women's NBA or a college basketball team. And the reason, one of like a reason that makes this stand out even more, like she needs to play well enough in her 3 years in order to be scouted, is because like the manga is realistic. There's realism because all the stories, everything that happens, the personalities, they're all like realistic. Chinatsu has a goal. She has decisions. She has specific decisions. It's not just like um, it's not just a story made up to be a story somebody wrote because it was a very fun story. It's a story written to be realistic. And so if you compare Chinatsu to teammates, her teammates that were older than her, or like the second years that are in her same grade, they quit this team in order to prepare for like uni entry exams, or they called it the prep school or something, prep school exams or something. And so her friends chose prep school, uni entry exams over basketball, but Chinatsu chose to play basketball for her next year of high school, her last year of high school. So I always had the feeling in my head that Chinatsu wanted to have a pro career in basketball. And so what I've concluded, aside from that thought, I've finally concluded from this chain of thought that she needs to perform good enough in her 3 years of high school in order to make it to the women's NBA or a college basketball team. A college basketball team. And there is evidence of Chinatsu trying to reach the women's NBA. There are multiple pieces of evidence. For instance, Yumeka says, "So you gave up on trying to dominate the basketball world." Basically, this implies that Chinatsu did want to dominate the basketball world. And if you were to dominate the basketball world, it'd be on the main stage, the NBA, the women's NBA, because that is the biggest league in the world, and that'd be dominating the basketball world. Furthermore, we have the presence of Masuoka, who returned from America. So he traveled from Japan to America and then back from America to Japan. And Chinatsu's mom returned to Japan. And so all of this is proof that they are living in a modern world, in a realistic world. This is a world where the NBA exists, and the NBA is the center of the basketball world that Yumeka refers to. And so there are deliberate references to a global scale. It is the author's intention to notify the reader that there is a global location, global places, global NBA events. Were even manga panels, and it was like chapter 85, where it's like Chinatsu, as a kid, saw an NBA match on TV, which motivated her to play basketball. So there are very real world references to the NBA and to also like real world countries. And so there is a specific intention, and the intention is to hint that that Chinatsu wants to have a career after high school, her high school basketball career in Japan, high school basketball team. She wants to like make it to the NBA or first go to a college basketball team and then make it to the NBA. And so there is an overarching goal which would explain all of Chinatsu's actions. Why she wants a guy that will motivate her to practice in the mornings, because she wants a guy that will motivate her because that will make her a better player. So now we kind of understand why she's doing all this, why she's using Taiki in the first place. We kind of understand her motivations. However, I'm going to, yeah, I'm gonna talk about a few more things. So I'm first gonna talk about this, but after that, I'll talk about other motivations that Chinatsu has. Like, does she only care about basketball, or is there something else? And so I'll first talk about this point. So Kyo interfered with Taiki's interest. So Taiki always says like he only likes one girl, but Kyo tells Taiki that he is in love with both Hina and Chinatsu. So my theory is that perhaps Kyo can tell that Chinatsu is manipulating Taiki. So he asks Taiki if he is interested in Hina, and so he wants Taiki to look at Hina as a lover potentially, because he wants him to potentially look at Hina as a potential love interest, because he can tell that Chinatsu is using him and friend zoning him, because she only needed a lover that required no commitment of a real relationship. And the reason this is probably the reason this is probably the conclusion to the action is because like he tried to tell Taiki that you're in love with Hina. Like, why would you do that, bruh? He never said that at all. But it's probably because he can see what's happening, and he kind of feels like pity or sympathy to Taiki, because he Chinatsu has no interest in a relationship at all. She simply wants more motivation to be a great basketball player. And so further evidence that Kyo can read the situation is that when when Taiki bets Chinatsu's phone number on a badminton match against another school's badminton player, Kyo tells Chinatsu that Kyo tells Chinatsu that he tells her that he tells her that her phone number is on the line, and then he asks her to take Taiki to out to see an aquarium, because because he wants Taiki to have a chance. He wants Taiki to have a chance, but it's maybe because like Kyo is the perceptive person out of like the friend circle. Maybe he can tell that Chinatsu is leading him on. And furthermore, Kyo sees, after they visit the aquarium, Kyo sees the fish keychain on Chinatsu's bag. So he observes Taiki does have a chance after all. He is like the perceptive character in the manga. He is the perceptive character in the manga. And so perhaps we can tell that Kyo can tell that Chinatsu is leading Taiki on. And so this is the last part of the theory. So the theory is the last part is that Chinatsu and Taiki are probably childhood friends. So during this part in chapter 51. In chapter 51, they talk about like their underclassmen in middle school. So Taiki was just talking to a middle school badminton player, and so they're talking to each other, and she tells him, "No, I was just thinking how much you look like an upperclassman, Taiki." And then he's like, "Only because first years in junior high are still so short." So she says, "You used to be that height too, Taiki." And then he says, "You don't know what I used to look like because we only started talking 6 months ago. Like, you don't know who I used to be. You don't know what I used to look like." And so she's like, she just has this sad expression on his face, this confused expression. And so he asks, "What's with the serious look?" So this basically it tells you that she actually knows him from prior to 6 months ago. She knows him prior to 6 months ago. She knows how he used to look like when he used to be the same height as the other kid. Yet he forgot that they knew each other. And so she's kind of like sad and lost because he doesn't remember her. So I guess my theory right now is that he suffered memory loss or something. And that's because I read another manga that had a similar memory loss situation where a girl shows interest in a guy and the guy doesn't know why, but it's mainly because like they were childhood friends, but the guy had memory loss and forgot about the situation. It's a very similar storyline. Well, not similar storyline, but it's a similar it's similar in that specific aspect where the guy suffered memory loss and forgot about the girl. And the manga is Haite Kudasai Takamine-san. And so so my theory is that since Chinatsu and Taiki's parents knew about each other, maybe Chinatsu had noticed Taiki before middle school. I mean, before high school, or maybe they knew each other, but then he had memory loss. Maybe then Taiki had memory loss. So we have a few memories that Taiki has. So it was Hina said that they used to be friends in middle school or something. But then that would imply that he did not have memory loss. So I'm at a loss right now. So anyways, I'm at a loss, but I think something weird must have happened. They must have known each other when they were when they were before he met Hina. So Hina is not actually a childhood friend, she's a middle school friend. But what I think right now is that Chinatsu and Taiki knew each other when they were like 7 to 12 at some point. So that would be elementary school. And the reason I say this is because in chapter 85, Yumeka, I think it's 85 or 84, Yumeka recognizes Taiki, and so the reason, and so she recognizes him. But another fact that we have to take into consideration is that so she recognizes Taiki and she knew of him from the past, just like how Chinatsu knew about Taiki from the past. But another fact is that Chinatsu and Yumeka were friends since elementary school, basically. In chapter 85, they met each other when they were like 7 years old. So the moment where Chinatsu could have met Taiki could have been any time between 7 years old to middle school, which would be like, okay, I don't even know the numbers. Like, I'm gonna have to think about this for a second. To like 15 years of age. So during sometime between the span, Chinatsu and Yumeka met Taiki, and so they they were probably childhood friends, but um, they were childhood friends, or they had one scene that left a strong impression on Chinatsu, which made her interested in this guy precisely. And there are some panels. Yeah, so right after this scene, right after this panel, there are these two panels. And so she tugs on his shirt, and then you have an interesting moment, and then she says, "This is just right." And this scene is just, it's pretty cute, pretty romantic. It just like seems like she is romantically interested in him. And like one reason might be because they're childhood friends. They have an important connection. And it really makes you think that she kind of felt like emotionally lonely, emotionally she was in a state of emotional need because she realized he forgot about her, and then she needed to have this moment. She needed to share this moment because she felt like lost after he forgot about her. So it's like maybe she does have some interest in him. So yeah, so maybe she's not just motivated by sports. Maybe she does have a love interest in the manga. So my conclusions are that Chinatsu intentionally strings Taiki along, and then she pulls away and sets boundaries. And so the first thing she accomplishes is that she fulfills her fetish of making like men jealous, making Taiki jealous, and she also enjoys the feeling, her own feeling of jealousy when Hina and Taiki share romantic romance. Oh, so is this realistic? Does this make sense? She enjoys making Taiki jealous. For instance, she lets herself be pulled away by Taiki. I mean, by Matsuoka. She lets another guy take her away, and that's kind of like, yeah, that is definitely fulfilling an NTR scenario. So it's definitely fulfilling an NTR scenario. So I do think she enjoys making people jealous and also like feeling jealous herself. And and the second thing that she achieves is that by getting other males to act as her boyfriend, she is able to set a boundary between herself and Taiki, and she states that she is not socially attached to him as his girlfriend, as Taiki allows for other men to court her. And therefore she kind of uses him as a private boyfriend in order to like fulfill the emotional need that a human has for a partner. But at the same time, she has the advantage of avoiding the disadvantages of a relationship, which often makes people lose their passion and motivation for a sport. Because like um, that's just how people that's just how emotions work, and she also avoids a large commitment to a an actual boyfriend and partner. Okay, so in other words, she fulfills her fetish, and she also fulfills her emotional need without requiring a commitment to a partner, without a full on commitment to a partner. Um, there are other manga and anime with with these kind of manipulative female characters. For instance, in Chainsaw Man, Makima is the first revealed manipulative female. Makima is the first manipulative female that I've seen in anime. This another example of a manipulative female would be Kuro Yukihime in Excel World. And so, yeah, nobody has explained the theory behind Kuro Yukihime, but I think she is definitely she's doing the same thing that Makima is doing, in that she's using a guy to be her soldier, basically. Yeah, okay. And so the Blue Box is in a similar genre with other high school manga and other like romance manga. For instance, Oragairu and Hyoka. It's so a lot of these like styles, these genres of manga, they kind of have this this like they're kind of complicated and complex, and so there's this like emotional question, intellectual question, because you don't know why there are a lot of secrets that need to be found out in these manga and anime. You want to know, why did she do that? Why are they how are they trying to control that person, that other character? And so it's very typical in manga to have these subtle plots where you need to understand um, you need to understand, like, where readers can try to solve the puzzle, like why did that character do that? And there's like a very subtle answer, like why did Chinatsu create a boundary with Taiki? And it's because like she needs an emotional partner, but not a committed partner. It's like, so she basically used him. The secret that I found out is that she's using Taiki. And so like a lot of manga have these these intellectual puzzles in order to understand why they're doing something when we're given no explanation at all. Like, we have never had an explanation as to why Shinatsu is doing so much for Taiki. Why is she doing this? Well, not so much, but why is she at least trying to like act cute? And why at all? Why at all? It's very weird. She never says she's interested in him. Well, she does tell Karen that she is interested in Taiki, but that's the only situation. Otherwise, she never proactively, asks him out on a date. She never proactively chooses that because she doesn't have the intention to proactively choose that. And so we want to answer the question of, why are they never proactively choosing that? Why are they drawing the line and never, getting closer? So there are very very big intellectual questions in some manga, like this manga. And I have more evidences, more explanations to this theory, but yeah, there's no time to do that. Because chapter 85, 86, the raws were leaked already, so technically my theory will be public any moment. So it's like I have to make the theory today. And so the new chapters might, give out free information that my theories had revealed. And so the theory is called the green box theory because green is the color of jealousy. Therefore, Chinatsu enjoys making other people jealous. And so I called it a green box theory. I wanted to call it a blue ball theory because like she's keeping him on a leash and not get and not, yeah, she's keeping him on wrapped around her finger. And so it's like I wanted to call it that, but nah, that doesn't work. Anyways, yeah. So uh, the theory about like um, I guess I definitely suspect that Chinatsu enjoys making Taiki jealous. I mean, some girls just enjoy doing that. Like, I'll be honest, there are definitely very few women, but definitely like some girls, like even if they look like they're perfect, like Chinatsu looks like she's a perfect person, but as Hina said, you're too perfect to be true. You must have some dirty fetish out there. And so I'll just end it at that. That's pretty much Chinatsu's secret.